Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of Kalyan Jewellers India Limited, hosted by ICICI Securities. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then zero on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Aniket Sethi from ICICI Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Jacob. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining. At ISEC, it is our absolute pleasure to host the management team of Kalyan Jewellers for Q2 FY22 earnings call. The company is represented by Mr. Ramesh Kalyanaraman, Executive Director, Mr. Sanjay Raghuraman, Chief Executive Officer, Mr. V. Swaminathan, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Sanjay Mehrotra, Head of Strategy and Corporate Affairs, and Mr. Ibrahim George, Head of Treasury and Investor Relations. I would now hand it over to the management for their opening comments, post which we'll open the floor for question and answers. Thank you, and over to you, Ramesh, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It has been a really exciting quarter. The performance has surpassed all our expectations, and I sincerely appreciate the energy and effort put in by each and every member of the Kalyan team. Let me start by giving an overview of the recently concluded quarter. We saw continued robust momentum in both footfalls and revenue across all our markets in India and Middle East. There has been a greater acceptance of the new normal, leading to increased walk-ins and more time spent by customers at our showrooms. Coming now to our India business. Our revenue for the quarter grew by 61% compared to the same quarter of the previous year, and it grew by 52% when compared to the same period in FY 2020. This growth was achieved despite showrooms in our key markets, one of our key markets, Kerala, resuming operations fully only by the second week of August. Our same-store sales growth was at 52% when compared to the previous financial year, and it was at 40% when compared to the year before, the pre-COVID year. For the just concluded quarter, our non-South market recorded a significantly higher same-store sale growth of 72% compared to 44% in our South market. This differential was predominantly due to the COVID-related closure of showrooms in Kerala. While the tailwinds from unorganized to organized continued to remain strong, we initiated various measures to capture this momentum effectively. One notable initiative which the brand undertook was to cater to the additional demand for staple products by introducing more options within the staple inventory. We also introduced studded products with more gold content, which made it easier for upselling to a first-time studded customer. Our campaigns focused on hygiene and COVID protocols helped us to give comfort to customers who had prioritized safety and hygiene while shopping. Our My Kalyan staff, in addition to focusing on wedding and scheme enrollments, were also instrumental in bringing low-ticket rural customers to the main Kalyan showroom. All these initiatives have helped us to leverage the industry tailwinds to our advantage. This not only gave us new set of customers, but also helped us gain significant market share. Gross margins improved quarter on quarter, aided largely by the increase in the studded mix. Our studded share saw a meaningful growth driven by the introduction of updates to our existing collections and return to normalcy in the amount of time spent by customers at our showroom, providing better opportunity for upselling. Our gold saving scheme enrollments have shown good momentum and a healthy growth compared to the same quarter in the previous year. In fact, the scheme enrollment levels have surpassed the pre-COVID levels also. Now coming to our Middle East operations. Revenue recovery in the Middle East has been satisfying for the recently concluded quarter. We have seen growth across all product categories. The market consolidation in the Middle East continues, and margins have been better than the pre-COVID levels. We remain positive on the market going forward as we see the region opening up more to international travelers. With improved consumer sentiments and buoyancy in the region, we are closely watching the situation and shall be opportunistic in expanding our presence in the region. To summarize, the recently concluded quarter has been very exciting, and as we speak, Diwali is just over and we have witnessed continuation in the momentum which started last year around the same time. We remain confident of the current quarter given the continued easing of COVID-19 related restrictions as well as return of buoyancy in consumer sentiments across markets. Now let me hand over it to our CEO Sanjay, who will take you through the performance highlights for Q2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Good evening to you all. I'm really happy to be talking to you all after a great quarterly performance. For the recently concluded quarter, our company reported a consolidated revenue of 2,889 crores, a growth of 61% over the corresponding quarter in the previous year. Consolidated EBITDA came in at 228 crores versus 18 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Consolidated profit after tax, PAT, was rupees 69 crores versus a loss of 136 crores during the corresponding quarter of the last year. Now let me give you a breakup of the financial performance between India and the Middle East. Starting with India, for the just concluded quarter, our revenue was 2,503 crores, a growth of 61% when compared with the corresponding quarter in the previous financial year. Our Q2 EBITDA was 201 crores, a growth of 36% when compared with the Q2 of the previous financial year. And we recorded a profit after tax PAT of 68 crores compared to a PAT of 29 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous financial year, a growth of 138%. Moving on now to our Middle East business. Our revenue in the quarter was approximately 360 crores, a growth of 61% compared to the Q2 of the previous financial year. EBITDA in the Middle East markets was rupees 26 crores compared to a loss of 132 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. And the Middle East business posted a profit of 35 lakhs for this quarter compared to a loss of 165 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. Moving next to our e-commerce business, Candere. The business posted a revenue of 32 crores in the quarter versus 22 crores in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. The quarter recorded a profit after tax of 54 lakhs versus a profit of 1 crore in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. During the quarter, we had no bullion sale, and the sale of gold coins and gold biscuits, etc., to retail and corporate customers was about 86 crores, which is about 3.5% of our total revenue. Talking about our retail footprint, we increased our retail footprint in India by about 12% in this year so far. And as of today, we operate 150 showrooms spread across India and the Middle East. With this, we are now done with the summary of the financials and can open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Manoj Menon from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, team. First of all, congratulations for a very good performance. Few questions, upfront. Ramesh, one on, if you could comment about the hallmarking implementation, where are we top down? And are you already seeing benefits or it is, yet to happen? So that's question number one. Or should I take one at a time?
No, you can ask. I can.
Okay, sure. The second one on the store expansion, you already had, a good sort of an expansion in 1H itself. So how are you looking at the full year and also for your thoughts for the next fiscal? Point number 3, thanks for the initial comments of, the some of the actions you have taken on the ground, for customer recruitment and maybe for retention also, and or even for upselling. If you could comment about, pricing. So let's say, when I look at the gross margins year on year, I know that the last quarter similar numbers are not comparable. Well, I also acknowledge that it has improved QOQ. The question here is there a pricing or a higher discounting element, in the lower gross margin? And the last question is on the gold hedges. If you could comment about what proportion of, your inventory is hedged currently. And I'll come back in the queue. I've got a few more, so those would be the upfront ones.
So first I will take your margin question. The gross margins for Kalyan has been in the range of 17% when the studded ratio was 24, and we had 35% share of business from non-South markets. For Q2, we are at 15% gross margin with only 22% studded ratio, and less than 30% share of business actually came from non-South markets. Margins have improved quarter on quarter by around 0.7%, and we are seeing further improvement in this Q3 as we speak. One point I want to highlight there is that in times like this, it is not prudent just to look at the gross margins in percentage. Your focus or our focus is to win as many customers as possible and improve our market share profitably. Reason why the non-South revenue is below 30% is because we opened 8 new showrooms in South markets out of the 10 new showrooms which we opened in H1. But our vision for 2025 will be to at least get 50% of our revenue from non-South markets, which will really improve our gross margins. And again, of course, the revenue target will be at least to more than double from what we are now. So that is about the gross margin question which you asked, Manoj. Did I make it clear, or I can?
No. I will. I got the gist of it. So I'll follow because it's a long queue out there.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
And
good.
Okay. Thank you. And the second area where you were asking is about initiatives which we took. I had told you about the initiatives, and that has really improved or that has really helped us to gain the market share and utilize the tailwind which already the sector has for organized segment. And regarding regarding the hallmarking, I think Sanjay, you want to take it? Yeah.
So, Manoj, hi. The update on the hallmarking piece is that things today are much more stable and predictable as it was compared to what it was about 2-3 months ago when it was initially introduced. For us, the situation on the ground today is that all ornaments that we are putting out at our showrooms are hallmarked and also marked with the unique identifying code, the hallmarking UID. So we are 100% already in compliance with that. There were infrastructure issues with the hallmarking vendor ecosystem about 2.5 months back. In most markets, there were some delays in getting the inventory back into our shops. But that has now normalized. It has become quite stable. and I think we are past that stage where there were issues in getting inventory back after the hallmarking. As far as the relaxation that the government has given, that relaxation is there there till the end of this month, end of November. What will happen after that is quite something that we can't comment right now. We don't know, but we are fully prepared if it is not extended, and we don't see any challenges on that front.
Sure. One question which I had was on the gross margin. Just to clarify, is there a price cut element there in the percentage gross margins? Or let me put it this way: so are you spending a little more than normal to recruit new consumers?
Yeah, so that is not there, Manoj. It is basically, as I always say, unorganized to organized. First, the customer comes for staple products. Okay, what innovations we did is that we actually innovated certain staple products to actually upsell them in plain gold itself, and again to upsell them to studded jewelry, we innovated certain products with more gold content in it, because that kind.
This is the operator. May I take your name and company? This is the operator. Sorry to interrupt you. May I take your full name and company, please? There is no response. Joining you back.
Is only because of mainly the south non-south revenue mix, and again the studded ratio coming down by 2%.
Very clear. And lastly, on the gold hedges, where are we at?
And you asked for some guidance for this year.
The store expansion.
Okay, so I would say that as we speak, from October to today, the momentum in revenue has been very positive. Diwali was good, Dhanteras was good, but it is not fair for us to expect a 50-60% revenue growth because we are already coming from a bigger base. Last Q3 itself, we had a double-digit growth. So it's not fair for a 50-60% growth, but the growth is very promising even now as we speak. And we don't see anything major which is going to change. And again, hallmarking practice which is going to be enforced fully post November 30th. We really feel that the shift from unorganized to organized may further get accelerated, and we are extremely positive for the running quarter as well as the rest of the financial year.
Good luck, team. I'll come back in the queue. Thank you.
And regarding hedging, we are fully hedged as of now.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nilay Shah from Moon Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Ramesh, my questions are 2 or 3 actually. First is on the revenue growth that you commented on. Can you give us a number of how the festival to festival period growth has been in terms of revenues?
Yeah, so festival to festival revenue growth has also been very healthy. We don't want to give a number because we have not kind of posted it anywhere till today. But again, I will repeat that we cannot expect a 50-60% growth because we are already coming from a larger base, a bigger base. Last Diwali also was very good. But it is very healthy, very strong momentum is what we see till today.
Okay, got it. Shifting to the metal gold loan, it is about 1,000 crores on your balance sheet at this point in time. And if I do a rough math, it works out to about, I would say, close to 30% of your overall gold inventory, which is there. What stops you from taking this to, let's say, 2/3 of your overall gold inventory? Now, the reason I ask this question is that your inventory is about 4,000 odd crores, 4,500, close to 4,500 crores on a consolidated basis at least. If you take, let's say, 70-80% of that as being gold, there's a very healthy headroom to increase the GML contribution. And the gap between GML and inventory-led model would be a good 5 percentage points on the cost of funds. And that would equal to essentially 1/4 plus of your profits. So what stops you from doing this? I want to understand that.
Yeah, so nothing stops. So you are really right. Our intention is to at least take it to 50% of our total inventory. Beyond that, it will depend on the inventory turn. But you rightly said, our intention is to take it to 50%. And why there was a dip from the gold loan when compared to the previous quarters, because we had taken inventory in bulk for opening 10 showrooms, and there were closures, maturities, which came on a 6-month basis, and that is why it dropped to a 50-100 crore level. Going forward, you will see the graph going up, and our intention is to at least make it in the range of 1,800 crore on a console gold loan before the end of the financial year.
Okay, before the end of the financial year. Okay, got it. And my number is right? About 5 percentage points is the cost of funding gap between GM and putting that inventory on your balance sheet?
Yeah, you are right.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Got it. And can you give us the number for debt, gross and net? The reason I'm asking you that because some part of it may be sitting as current liabilities.
Yeah, Swaminathan, can you take it? Swaminathan?
Hello?
Yeah, Swaminathan, can you take the question?
Yeah, I'm speaking. Are you all able to hear?
Yeah, now we are able to.
Yeah. So, regarding debt at the net debt level is more or less at the same level compared to the quarter 1 and Q2. So, is there any specific point you want to know?
No, what's the number?
For example, if you look at Q1, the net debt is 2,632 crores, and if you look at Q2, it is 2,652 crores. A difference of about 15-20 crores only.
Okay, and this includes about 1,000 crores of GML.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And this sequential rise that has happened, I know it's flattish, but given how you've grown and the profitability, the sequential rise is just seasonality because of the festive period?
No, so you are looking Q-on-Q revenue growth?
No, I'm saying that the Q-on-Q increase that happened in the debt, although marginal, the reason for the increase is just the seasonality of the business in terms of festive period and non-festive period? Or are there some other elements?
It will be because of the cash in hand or something, no? Swaminathan, can you take it?
Yeah. So there are 2-3 reasons because one is that there is a play of margin money for the gold metal loan. So that moves up and down and with the increase decrease. Secondly, some renewals take place and we do pay processing charges, etc. So the debt level overall is due to change in the cash balances in the net debt level.
Okay, got it.
If you look at the gross debt level, it will be also at the similar range only, 3,610 crores versus 3,560 crores. So the difference is almost same at the gross level also.
Got it. And any view on how this debt pay down will happen over the course of the next, let's say, 12 months or something?
We have already stated and we have been maintaining it that our aim is in the medium term to target the debt equity level of about 0.75, and this will be mostly by accrual of profits during the period ahead, and we don't foresee any increase in that level.
Okay, 0.75 debt equity. Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Aaron Armstrong from Ashmore Group. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for taking the question. And firstly, congratulations on a very strong set of results. Can you talk about the short-term growth outlook, please? So in terms of the growth that we've seen over the last quarter has been extremely impressive, both on a one-year view and versus the prior pre-COVID period. Can you talk about how we should expect the growth rate to change over the coming quarters? You mentioned this growth rate is particularly strong and difficult to sustain, but do you think the growth rate drops down to a much lower level, say a single-digit level, or do you think these kind of levels are more kind of realistic to expect over the next couple of quarters, to say like a 20-30% revenue growth moving forward? Kind of how should we think about growth over the coming quarters?
Yeah, as I told you, growth going forward is going to be, as we speak, it's 40 days of Q3 and it is festive time in India. The momentum is very strong, but don't expect 50-60% growth because we are already starting with a higher base. But the growth is very promising as we speak.
Thank you. And then perhaps to understand where the...
Just to give you more comfort, definitely not a single-digit growth.
Understood. Thank you. And then can you talk about where some of the growth is coming from, please? Do you think it's pent-up demand from purchases that were postponed during lockdown? Do you think it's coming more from market consolidation or any other factors that are driving these elevated growth rates right now?
Yeah, we should give some merit to the pent-up demand. We should give some merit, but more than that, the shift from unorganized to organized, that is the major reason, and we have capitalized it well. And that is what we see. And we are seeing the same momentum in Q3. We are seeing a lot of new customers. And the trend of this momentum actually started from Q3 of last year. So for the last 3 years, we are seeing this momentum.
Do you think the hallmarking rules are beginning to have an impact on customer behavior, or do you think we need to wait until they're fully implemented at the end of this month before they begin to have an impact?
Yeah, so by November 30th, government is making it fully mandatory, wherein all the inspection, etc., will start at the store level, wherein it will be very tough for small retailers to sell without hallmarking. Post that, the organized segment will surely benefit is what we feel, because the main USP for a small player is to sell, I don't blame everybody, but most of them, or a few of them at least, sell impure gold and claim that it is pure, which cannot happen in the future now. And again, one more focus area is HUID, wherein each and every product is marked or tracked right from the production times itself. And it will be very hard for a small retailer. Again, one more USP which they have is non-billing, etc., which happens here, or under-invoicing. That also cannot happen if the hallmarking is fully enforced. So unorganized segment is going to be further hit because of this, and we believe that the shift from unorganized is going to further get accelerated.
That's great, thank you. And then perhaps the last question for me in terms of addition of new showrooms. Does the particular strength that we're seeing in the market right now make you more optimistic and make you want to accelerate your showroom rollout?
Yeah, we actually had plans to open 21 showrooms this year, out of which 14 is already done. We will be opening the rest in this financial year. And as you rightly said, we want to accelerate the growth plan or the expansion plan because we see high momentum. So we are looking for franchise also for expansion, which we think that by the end of this financial year, at least we will be able to do one franchise store for a test basis, and we can take it forward for the next financial year.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Tejas Lakhani from Unifi Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Congratulations on the numbers, sir. My first question is on the capital employed. Mr. Ramesh, I'd like your thoughts on how you look at the return on equity for the business. The reason is because about 25% of our capital is today employed in the Middle East, which is not generating profit. I concur with the fact that you've built the business phenomenally over the years in the Middle East, but 75% of the domestic India business has to bear the heavy weight to generate the return on equity. So I'd like your thoughts on that. That's my first question.
Okay. So we have, yes, deployed 25% in Middle East. Middle East, as you know, is one of the top 3 markets for jewelry in this world. If you look at now, yes, we are not generating any money because the comeback post-COVID has not been as promising as India. Once this revenue comes back to a pre-COVID level at least, which is not very far away according to us, the returns are going to be very good because the OPEX is under control because expansion phase is over. No huge OPEX, no huge marketing is involved. We already are one among the top 3 players in that space now. So we will be getting returns once the revenue comes back to the pre-COVID levels, which we think it's not very far away. And that employed or deployed capital is going to really fetch us what we want. And the main additional point which all of us should understand is that all additional revenue post that which comes from the Middle East market is going to completely flow to your bottom line, which will really benefit your return ratios. And no other Indian company has been able to be successfully take over market in that space, even if they invest money. So that is the main advantage which the brand has done over the past 6-7 years in that space.
Got it. So my next 2 questions are more, more compliance based. So could you qualitatively tell us more that the ASP spend, how should we be looking at it? This 50 crore that you have reported this quarter, do we see that kind of a spend every quarter from here on?
Yeah. So advertisement and marketing expenses are in the ratio of at least 1.8% of our revenue in Q2. That is actually as per our target. It used to be more than 3% in the past when we were on an expansion phase and when we were on a brand building exercise. So now it is at a 1.8%, which is again, I think it can go to that level even in the future.
So you're saying it will be at around these 2% levels as you continue to do store expansions in the non-South markets as well?
It should be in the range of 1.6 to 1.8 because we don't have any area even in non-South markets where we don't have a store. So all the expansion in non-South markets are in the areas where we already have established our presence. So there is no new area for us to go and explore. So we think that the A&P expenses will be in the range of 1.6 to 1.8% of our revenue.
Got it, sir. And sir, what has been the capex per store for the 10 stores that you have opened up this year on an average?
It would be in the range of 4 to 5 crores.
Okay, 4 to 5 crores. Got it. And sir, just last question is that you mentioned a brief second back that you are looking at the franchisee route. So I just wanted to understand, so in this franchisee route, will it be franchisee-led model where the inventory will be Kalyan's, or will the inventory also be the burden of the franchisee?
Yeah. So Sanjay, you want to take it? Because
So from the planning stages that we are at, we have concluded on the model construct, and we will start with a model where the franchisee owns the inventory.
Okay, so you will make only a royalty or some percentage of the total revenue of the franchisee?
Yes.
Okay. And so lastly, how do you look at the revenue per stores for the older and newer stores? Could you comment a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so it depends upon, it's not about old and new. It depends upon your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 stores. So historically, the store revenue will be in the range of 70 crores, 60 to 70 crores on an average. But there are stores which do more than 200 crore. There are stores which do 50 crore. It depends upon your location. It cannot be like all the stores can be 60, 70 crore. You know that.
Right. Perfect. Okay.
The advantage is that even older showrooms are now clocking high SSG. SSG, even when compared to the pre-COVID year, it is in the range of 40% now.
Okay, got it. And sir, just lastly, the focus will be to continue to grow the India piece very clearly, right? No further capital allocation to the Middle East.
Yeah, our focus is predominantly to grow in India, because India we have done all the hard work. It is the right time to completely capitalize what we have done. Middle East, we are very opportunistic. There, we are closely watching the market, and expansion, anything there will be from the money which is there and not from India.
Got it. So it's when the Middle East will start to break even that you may choose to deploy further money in the Middle East. Got it.
Yeah, and from that market itself.
Got it. Okay, sir. I'll fall back in queue. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Gaurav Jogani from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir, and congratulations on a strong set of numbers. So my first question is with regards to the contribution from, the gold savings scheme. What is the contribution in this quarter? And, how do you see the contributions going ahead there? As you mentioned, the additions in this quarter has also been very strong.
Yeah, so our usual contribution from gold savings scheme is in the range of 22 to 23% of our total revenue. And if you look at the gold savings scheme enrollments right now, it is showing a very healthy growth of around 40% when compared to the previous year, and it has already surpassed the pre-COVID levels as well. So way forward also, we expect that it may be in the level of 23%, which is today at 21%.
Okay. Got it, sir. And sir, as you have mentioned in your opening remarks as well, that your major market, that's Kerala, has only started operations from the second week of August. So practically, half of the quarter has impacted for that. And I'm understanding because, Kerala has been a home market, a good portion of revenue should come from there. So in that light, how do you see, the growth in the coming quarters from there with the markets now fully operational and, plus the other markets also rebounding? So how do you see the growth in that light?
Yeah, so now everything is open in Kerala. Onam was good. Onam is a major festival in Kerala, as you know, and the market started opening just before Onam, and Onam was good, and it is continuing to be good. And now we are fully operational. Every store in India is operational, as well as Middle East.
Yeah, so I'm saying because, is there an expectation of a pent-up demand from the Kerala market, because the half of the quarter was not, functional. So can you see some flow-through of that demand in the coming quarter? Is what my question was.
Yeah, so actually, footfall has now improved. Yes, you can have some expectation of pent-up demand, but marriage season was opened, meaning August post-Onam was the major marriages which happened, where the market was open, and from August, the second week itself, the market started opening. But of course, you can expect some pent-up demand stepping in, because 1.5 months were closed in Q2.
And so my last question is with regards to the international business. We have continued to see good, strong margins in that business, and you have highlighted that, because that is because of the consolidation in that market. But with the market resuming normalization, how do you see the margin trajectory there again? And is there possibility of margins correcting to the earlier levels, or how do you see the margins there going ahead?
So now the margins will never go to the pre-COVID levels, wherein the margins were only at 13%. Okay, but when the market is back to full swing, when competition, pricing, etc. comes in, I think it should settle between 16 to 18% is what I feel, 16% plus. Now it is at 17%. Last quarter it was at 18%. So it shrinks by 1% because we see more revenue coming in, more competition coming in. But this competition is not going to come from the small players anymore, because they have already winded up, and they are not going to come back soon anyway.
Okay. And sir, the debt part actually, if you can give some clarity on the debt part. So I understand, sir mentioned that the net debt has not moved much. It's all largely remained flat from 2,632 odd crores in Q1 to now 2,652 crores on in Q2. So sequentially, it has not risen. But our cash generation has, risen quite good. So if you clarify on that part, because the net debt would definitely weed out the cash. I mean, the cash element is already taken care of there. So in that light, how should we look at the debt rise?
Yeah, so gross debt is almost stable. Net debt is like for 40 crore less than Q1. I really actually did not understand what you exactly meant.
So my question was that ideally, because your profit QQ has risen so much, shouldn't the net debt be lower, much lower rather than
that cash flow directly goes to our inventory when we add new stores, etc. So that cash flow does not come to reduce the debt, because that is not the main part, wherein we are in a growing stage where the idea is not to reduce the debt but to grow.
Got it. That's okay. Thank you again for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants, you may enter star one to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Shirish Pardesi from Centrum Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening, Ramesh and team. Thanks for the opportunity and hearty congratulations.
Thank you.
2-3 questions. When I look at your slide 29 of the presentation, you said that gold revenue has grown 59%. Will you please help me to split this 59% growth as what is the volume, what is the price, and what is the realization of studded?
Yeah, so if you look at the growth in revenue and versus volume, okay, actually we don't track growth in volume, but if you look at the gold price variation between Q2 of this year and last year, it would have been in the range of 10%. So the volume growth will be at least 10% more than the revenue growth which is recorded.
Got it. So that's what my assumption was, but anyway, you clarified that.
Yeah.
Second point on the right-hand side, when you said that the studded has grown 64%, while when I see the contribution, which is not much moved up, from 20.2% to 22.6%. Ideally, of course, Kerala is not the right example because Kerala would not have high saliency from the studded ratio. But in which market you face this door growth in terms of studded?
So, first of all, when your south share goes up, okay, the studded ratio also comes down, because in South India, the studded ratio usually is in the range of 21 to 22%. And outside South India, it is in the range of 30%. So now in Q2, 71% of the revenue came from South markets. That is predominantly because we opened 8 new showrooms in the South.
Yes.
And that will surely affect the studded ratio.
Okay.
And
okay.
Overall margin will also be impacted because of that.
Okay. My second question is on the Kerala market. Would you be able to quantify what was the contribution or sales last year when things were normal from Kerala, and what was the number which we have got this year? Maybe in terms of a domestic contribution or maybe absolute value, whatever you are comfortable.
Yeah, usually we don't, it's very competitively sensitive, and we don't give state-wise data like that. I can take you separately and give you some information if you want.
No, the reason why I'm asking, because see, half of the quarter Kerala was closed, and even if you have given the example of Onam and things has happened, I was there in Kerala, and even Onam was there in some pocket which was celebrated, but half of the pocket was closed. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions. So what I'm trying to understand is that demand which has got deferred after 30th September will definitely come back because you have a strong presence and the brand is well known in the nearby area in the Kerala. So I'm not trying to quantify, but I'm just trying to say what is the flow through demand which has happened purely from the Kerala, because it's a strong market.
Yeah, so we, as I said before, of course, we can expect some pent-up demand coming in, but the major revenue comes from wedding and wedding related, which actually happened as per schedule because wedding season, every showroom was open and the state was also open. And because it is very competitively sensitive, I am not very comfortable to share details in terms of revenue, if you don't mind.
That's all right. I'm just saying that, I mean, of course, because you said that somebody earlier participant, you said that whether you will grow sales 30% above, you try to tone down saying 50% growth will not come. But equally, you also said that it will not be single digit. So I'm not trying to guess the revenue momentum. I'm only saying that there are some logical reasons that you should not see a lower growth in the quarter 3 and even quarter 4.
Yeah, even without Kerala, you leave aside Kerala pent-up demand, the revenue momentum was very strong. And even if you don't expect, if you keep out, just to give all of you comfort, okay, even if you keep out Kerala totally, the revenue momentum from the rest of the states are very positive. And even though it is not a 50-60% level, very strong momentum we are seeing.
Okay. My last question is on the Middle East part. Though we have the history of only last 1.5 years, and in the international market, you said that your gross margin are in the range of about 16-17%. But in your sense, since the time you have entered in Middle East, what is the best gross margin you have ever extracted from that market?
We have gone till 18%, but we were at 13% till COVID. Okay, so that from 13 it became 17 to 18 because a lot of small players went away from the market and there was a very good consolidation which happened in that market.
So I'm not asking the target, but I think there is still further scope because you have done whatever measures last 4 to 5 quarters by consolidation. So of course you said that you are one of the 3 and there is a competition angle which is also going to help. So in the medium term, you will definitely surpass that 18%. That's what the sense you are getting now?
The margins, we should not be very aggressive there because once the market is coming back to normal, there will be at least a bit of a price war competition which comes from amongst the organized players itself, amongst the big players itself. So better don't focus on margin as a percentage. Better we at least be conservative in the range of 16% for the future. But gross profit as an amount will be very good because when your revenue is coming back to a pre-COVID level, you can enjoy that.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you and all the best to you and the team.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitesh Seth from Redan Securities. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir, and heartiest congratulations for the good set of numbers. Most of my questions have been answered. Only thing, sir, could you please throw some light on FY23 expansion plans in terms of the number of stores in non-South market and number of My Kalyan centers? Thank you.
Yeah, so usual run rate of opening stores are in the range of 15 to 20 stores a year, and that will be the estimate for the coming year. Over and above that, franchise also we want to try out. Of course, we don't want to be very bullish on the number of franchise stores which we will open for the next year because we really want to try out a pilot franchise this financial year. Again, take it a bit slow for the first half, at least for the next financial year, and then take it forward. But by 2025, at least we would have doubled the number of stores from where we are today. That's our vision. And to answer your South, non-South, predominantly we will be expanding in non-South markets because again that is a part of our vision to get at least 50% of revenue from the non-South markets. Why I am specifically telling non-South markets is because the margins are very high in non-South markets.
Right, sir. And
Kalyan, you asked My Kalyan.
Yeah.
As you know, we have 6 to 7 My Kalyans in and around a particular showroom. So My Kalyan will also grow in line with Kalyan Jewellers showroom.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Deepak Poddar from Sapphire Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. So, in terms of Vision 2025, you did mention about doubling the number of stores, right? So that also means that even the revenue target would be a double of what we are doing right now?
It will be more than double because if it is a usual SSG itself, it will be in the range of 6 to 8%. I am talking about the usual. Of course, you know now what is happening, and I don't want to comment again about it. But it will be more than double, right? Because there will be an SSG which is coming in 6 to 8% as well as the stores added up. So it will be more than double.
More than maybe 10,000 crores that we have been doing consistently in last 3-4 years.
Yeah. So now we are at about 10,000 crores. So it's more than double.
Okay. And when we talk about the increasing share of non-South market, where your gross margins are little on the higher side. So what is the gross margin range we are looking at? I think you did mention about 16 to 18% right now when the market stabilizes. But at 50%, how do you see gross margins?
So 16 to 18% was in Middle East. Okay. In India, we are now at 15%. Our usual margins used to be in the range of 17% when we had 35% revenue contribution from non-South markets. So once it becomes 50%, okay, again, your margins will surely climb up by another 1 or 2% from the 17% which used to be there when 35% revenue contribution used to be from non-South markets.
Understood. So 18-19% is the range which one can see at 50%.
Yeah, I don't want to give a correct number, but usually it works out like that because non-South markets are more profitable in terms of percentage. Because there's usually a gap of at least 8 to 10% on gross margin as a percentage between South and non-South.
I understood. Yeah, that's the clarification I needed. Yeah, that's it from my side. All the way best.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Harsha from Dimensional Securities Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, sir. So if I look at your consolidated balance sheet, so there is cash and bank balances roughly of around 920 crore. But correspondingly, if I look at your other income, it is hardly 10 crore. So just wanted an idea on that. I mean, why are we not yielding any income on the cash balances which we have? I know that some of the money is also kept as guarantee, but we should be earning at least something on that, right?
Yeah. Swaminathan, do you want to take it?
Yeah. So not all the money can be placed as deposits and you can earn interest. Some of them are cash in circulation at showrooms. Some of them are given as margin money. Some of them has given as gold loan based on deposits. So there are some portion only you will be able to earn interest, and that interest income is already factored in as part of non-operating income in our P&L. So, are you clear?
Yeah, sure. And other question was, have we spent any money for meeting the hallmarking standards that is there in the current gross margin? I mean, the impact of which it might not be there going forward. Is there any such element in our P&L?
So hallmarking, you mean we already do hallmarking for the past many years, 15-20 years now. So we don't have any additional expense because of hallmarking, and there is no major, it's only a negligible percentage, of course, but nothing major is going to change because we are already, all the products are hallmarked.
Okay. And lastly, just wanted to understand from the industry point of view, as you mentioned that the small shopkeepers might not be able to hallmark their jewelry, then what could be the quantum of that inventory? I would assume that would be huge. And what would eventually happen with that?
Yeah, so that is the saddest part wherein for organized players, of course, it's going to benefit. Okay. And as of now, only 30% of the total industry is organized. And one thing all of us should understand is that it does not mean that all unorganized players are going to close their showrooms and go away. Many people will become organized as well and will continue in their business. So everything is not going to go away, but of course there will be one set of showrooms wherein they don't want to become organized at all, might go away from the business totally.
Okay. And what would be the price difference between same weight and same grammage of jewelry between hallmarked and the one which is not hallmarked?
No, so non-hallmarked means it is meaning the gold amount is for 22 carat is what we sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if your non-hallmarked gold is 18 carat or 17 carat or 16 carat, it can go down to any extent because customer does not know the actual quality. So he is actually getting cheated. If he or she knows that it is only 17 carat or 18 carat, they would not pay the money of 22 carat and buy that product.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the main advantage, for customers when hallmarking is in place. No customer is going to get cheated in the future.
Understood. Makes sense. Sure. That was it from my side. Thanks a lot and all the best to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Aniket Sethi from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, Ramesh. So just want to understand one bit. So digital side, for the industry, we are seeing a lot of traction. The market leader, for example, is doing quite well in the omni-channel format of CaratLane. So what are your plans for Candere over here? Any plans to increase the focus in this segment?
Yeah, so the business has been growing at a very healthy pace. Q2 revenue was approximately 32 crore. For Dhanteras, we saw actually a multifold growth over the previous year. We have a growth plan in place, which of course will need offline stores as well. This might need a fundraise, which we will take a call over the next couple of quarters maybe. So yes, Candere is a focus which we want to do, but I think we should wait for another 3 or 4 quarters and then take a call.
Sure. Understood. That's it from my side, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand over the conference to management for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are very thrilled about this quarter, and we think or we believe that the future quarters are also going to be further exciting. And thank you very much for the participation, and we thank all of you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of ICICI Securities, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.